Hardcore Henry. Now this movie I've definitely been waiting to see for quite a while. Once I saw the trailers, which was probably a couple months back, whenever trailers normally release, and this one was a bit different because this was sort of it wasn't like a normal big budget type of thing. It was made in Russia, I believe, so it was like a Russian made film, and it kind of got picked up, and that's why it actually came over to the States, because there are a ton of movies that we never see over here, even if they speak English in the movies. Like if it's a British movie, sometimes they just won't get picked up by American studios, so we won't get to see them. And I was really happy that this one got picked up. I was excited to see it. I was like, of course, with the reviews from the trailers, it's always like, oh, it's amazing and this and that, because of course they say that to play up the movie. But it had a good trailer. I mean, it looked like there was enough action. It's crazy over the top, and I was like, I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. Went to see it, and it was exactly like the trailer showed. It was insanely over the top. I didn't even know the basic story of the movie, honestly, until the day I went to see it, because I watched like the official trailer from the actual company that made the movie, because I just saw like the normal TV trailer. So it was just like action and action, and then I saw the initial first official trailer, and I was like, oh, that's the story. I didn't know that, but it didn't matter to me, because I was like, the title is called Hardcore Henry. You can kind of guess what to expect from this movie, and it's not like a classical play. It's an action movie. It's an over-the-top action movie. And I loved it. I went in there and I was like, alright, it's a crazy, first-person sort of deal, so that was interesting to see. And I was just looking forward to how all that stuff was really going to play out. And I think it went pretty well, as far as I'm concerned. I think they did a pretty good job with it. Off the top, I do have to say, for some people, it just won't work with the motion sickness. I didn't have any issues with it. I think when you first start out, it might be a bit jarring, because of course we aren't really used to that outside of our own lives, and not a lot of us are doing parkour. So unless you're running around a lot, probably not something you're used to. And even when you move around yourself, it's very different than watching someone, like, because just our bodies work that way. Like, we can tell we're sitting still and watching something move crazy, compared to when we're actually moving around crazy, and our body can adjust to that. It's still easier to see that way. But after a while, not a while, I shouldn't say a while, but after like a little bit, maybe after like the first couple of minutes, honestly, like the first big action scene, after that, everything kind of worked out. Because like the first big action scene, there was a lot of flipping and stuff, and it's very early on. The movie does not waste any time. It gets straight into it. So probably within, I'd say probably only like 10 minutes or so, you'll be adjusted, because they do like the first big action scene, which it kind of takes it to like 11, and it kind of makes everything after that seem like nothing, because you were able to at least somewhat comprehend what you saw. And then after that, it's like, oh, this is like slow motion to me. So after that first initial scene, it's kind of like, yeah, everything's fine. There isn't really any motion sickness. For some people, I do expect that to happen, because everybody's different. So in some cases, it just might not work no matter what, which is very unfortunate, because I think it's a great action movie. But after like that first big scene, which like I said happens very early on, like within the first 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure is like the first crazy action sequence. So all of that was really fine. And then the rest of the movie, it's just cool visuals, because they have the first person stuff. They have people doing parkour. And it's really funny, but like the only movies that ever make me want to do parkour, of course, don't come from America, because that's not where parkour was made. So when I was watching this, I was thinking of the movie District B13, which is also that's a British movie, not a Russian movie. And there's a ton of parkour in that. So they hardcore parkour stuff, people running up buildings, things like that. And there's stuff where they like go on bridges and stuff, and it's really fun. It's very cool. And they have, I heard that they have like 8 different people actually play Henry and stuff like that, which they need. They would need some people, because, with the way it's set up, where they use these cameras on someone's head, they can't have anyone around them. And I thought that was actually very fun, because, watching the movie, it's like, man, that's not something that we have in movies very often. Like, of course, it's been done before, but it's very rare. You don't have a lot of situations where you have an actor going through, and then they just turn around and it's like, oh, that's exactly what's behind them. Nothing. And there's no one around them. Like, they have people, of course, in far off areas where you can't tell that's the camera crew, or just the crew in general. But it's really cool watching that experience because you know that it's just, this little rig on one person's head, and they're going through this whole sequence, and they can turn around and stuff, and you don't see anybody because there's no one there, or they, in some cases they probably like CG'd themselves out and some stuff. But it was just really cool. It's like I like that experience of it. Very great editing. It's one of those things you have to have very clever editing when you do stuff like that. So you can catch when they do the edits because it's very, well, I shouldn't say it's very clear, but it's just obvious kind of editing tricks when you do certain movies like this, or you want to make something seem like a continuous shot. A very good thing to do is always have like kind of just a blank slate is what I consider it. And so you just look at something that's going to stay the same. So like there'll be scenes where they'll have the character, like he'll look up and it'll be like just an opening in the ceiling or something. And then there'll be an edit there, but it'll be a very nice slick edit. So you won't really be able to tell, but it's like I know that they edited it right there, but you can't really tell when they do it. So very good editing. Action, definitely, like they do not, I think the best way to describe this, one of the funny things, like when my girlfriend asked me after I saw it, because she didn't see it with me, when she asked me like did I like it, one of the things that came to mind was this movie was a lot like Deadpool, but it was not the comic book version of it. Like it's insanely bloody, especially the end fight scene is about as bloody as it gets, and it ramps up like crazy because the other scenes, it's a ton of action and stuff, but it's fighting, maybe gunshots, explosions and stuff, but the end fight scene is like some true Deadpool stuff. It's like people just dying in the craziest ways. It amps up to 1,000,000 during the final fight, and it was awesome. It was amazing to see. It was just like it went from like this could be PG-13 to like this has to be rated R. Like I think all the rated R was in that one final fight scene at the end of this movie, and that's fine because it was very well done. Once again, they had good editing there as well. There was certain parts like I said, but it was really cool. It was just a great action movie all the way through. It's one of those things, like I said, it's not like a Shakespearean play. It's not meant to be like, oh, this story is so amazingly detailed and there's great character development, which they actually do have for like really like one of the characters. They actually do have some pretty interesting development, and they have some crazy stuff in the very beginning, which kind of gets answered if you've seen the movie. You know what I'm talking about. There's like literally one thing in that whole movie that doesn't get answered, and it's just like, okay, it happened, and it was cool, but it was still like this weird thing that's like, it's clearly a sci-fi sort of movie, but it's just like, all right, but I guess that's a thing in this world. So there's only like one aspect of the whole film that doesn't really get explained, but it's one of those things, like not all stories do that either. Like even some stories that are like very well told leave stuff unanswered on purpose, and it's one of those things like this was meant to be a good action movie, and it certainly is. They have like some great action scenes. Of course I don't want to spoil like any of the action scenes, but the scene that's in the trailer, like where he's on top of like a truck and he like he throws a grenade down, it blows up, and he lands on like a motorcycle and all that stuff. That's a great action scene. Like they have lots of really good stuff. They have a really funny scene. I think my favorite comedy scene, even though it probably shouldn't have been, but my favorite comedy scene involves an animal, and that's all I'll say. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I just love the way they did that because it was just something that seemed like it started off in one direction and then it went in a totally different way. Where it was like that's not at all how that was supposed to go for the character, and it was just really funny to me. Especially how they played it up and everything. So I love that scene because it was just so funny, and it was like, you think it's about to be this certain like, falling in line with the action thing, like it's about to be this cool sort of epic moment and stuff. It's like, nope, that didn't happen, and it just ended up being a really funny scene. But it had great action in it. The actors were pretty good. There are basically like 3 main actors throughout the film, and there's really like only 2 technically main actors, and it's the main character Henry and the character Jimmy, who is the guy who shows up. It depends on what trailer you see, but he shows up, and there's one trailer where he has like 2 guns in his hand. He's like, this is war. So that guy, that's Jimmy, and he's really great. I wish I knew that actor's name. I don't know his name, unfortunately, but he's the guy from District 9, and he's been in some other stuff that he's very well known for. He gets to do like the ultimate version of a split personality, and it's really great. He does it great for every single character, every single version of this character, and it's really fun. So I certainly enjoyed that. Like I said, he's in there. He kind of helps Henry kind of go through the story pretty much, and it's just simple. It is a video game. I think that was one of the first things they did for the first trailer. It's like watching a video game, and it is. It's you're this, save the princess kind of deal, do that, but in the middle of that, it's just rated R action. It's like, I think in, excuse me, even in one of the trailers they call it's like watching a Call of Duty thing, and it's kind of like that because it is just insane violence, all and explosions and this and that, but it's done in a really fun way, and it's very, very entertaining to watch. I would highly recommend going to see it. I think I might buy this when it comes out. Honestly, I think I might get this on Blu-ray because it was just such a fun movie to watch, and it's one of those things. Unfortunately, I don't think enough people are gonna be interested in seeing this. And when I went to see it, which was yesterday, actually on Sunday, there was I think 4 people, or I think 7 people, including myself. There were like 4 people in there already. There were 2 couples, and I went there by myself, and then like 2 other people came in like during the trailers and stuff. So there were like 7 of us in that entire theater, which could be equated, to it being Sunday, but I'm pretty sure it's like this because maybe not so many people are really interested in seeing this movie. But if you're a nerd like me, I highly recommend it. As a very, very random nerd moment, there are 2 things because I watched another review. I watched Angry Joe's review, and in the comments, somebody mentioned there are a bunch of references to Payday 2, the heist. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I haven't played that game yet, so I missed all those references. But there's one specific scene for like a split second where there's a Left 4 Dead poster, and I was like, I caught that for like this glance that they did on screen. I was like, that's awesome. Like, even though it was probably just totally random, they were just like, can we use your apartment to film? I'm sure that's how it was. But there are a bunch of posters, and there was one poster for like a split second. I was like, that was Left 4 Dead for sure. So that was awesome. Just a random thing. Like, of course, I'd pick that up. But it's a great freaking movie. I will, even though it's not like a real story-based thing, I will be doing a spoiler discussion for this just because I want to really talk about the action scenes because they were really great, and just how they did them and how they played out. And some of the elements of the story were actually fairly important, so I'm going to actually do a spoiler video. But if you guys have seen the movie, of course, without spoilers, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Spoilers, obviously, spoiler alerts if you're going to do that. Or just go over to the spoiler video and, put your comments there. But if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. One of the things my girlfriend also asked me was, is it better than Batman v Superman? A million times better than that. Story-wise, maybe not so much, but definitely far more entertaining. Actually, yeah, story-wise, probably better too. I don't know. It's better than Batman v Superman. That's not saying much, from my opinion. I know some people really enjoyed it. For my opinion, it's not saying much that it's better than Batman v Superman, which is very sad. But it's a great movie. It's very entertaining. It was worth full price, which when I watched Batman v Superman, I was like, it's not worth it. This, I'd say pay, the $10, $12, whatever price to go see it, because it's a fun action movie. Don't go into it expecting the best story in the universe or anything like that. But if you want, like, just a good action movie, this is definitely one of them. Like, I don't know how popular this movie's going to get, but it was well done, and it deserves to get popular. I hope it does, but just because it wasn't, especially with it being kind of brought over to America, I know it's not going to have the same sort of publicity that like an Avengers movie would have, because it's not actually like made in America. It's not that sort of deal where it's like, oh, this is an American company that did it, so it won't get as many promotions. And I really do think I only heard about this maybe a couple months ago, which, as we know, any movie that's huge that's going to come out, like Avengers or any comic book movie or just any big movies with a bunch of actors, it's always going to be like, this is coming out next year or something like that. And I heard about this maybe, technically it might have been last year, but it had to have only been in like October or something like that, if it was even last year that I heard about it. But it's definitely a great film. Definitely go check it out. Don't go into it, like I said, expecting like an amazing story, but for just an over-the-top action movie, it has a good enough solitary story that I would highly recommend. It's like, if you've seen The Raid, it's similar to that, where the story is very contained. There's not much of a story, really. Like, I think the story in this is actually more than The Raid, oddly enough, but it's just a little simple story. It's like, here's basically why this story is happening, but the action and the dead people are why you're here watching the story, really. So definitely go check it out. It's got some good comedy in it. It's got some great action. Visually, it's an amazing film. Like, you just that style. Like, it's something, obviously, it's like, if it was done in third person, it would still be a great movie, because just the stunts that they do look really great. So I know that those will look cool. Even if it was shot like a normal film, it would still look really great. But seeing it in first person, just, it does make a huge difference. And it is a lot like a video game, and that's fine. Like, it actually works that way. So I would highly recommend it. Like I said, if you guys have seen it, I definitely want to know what you thought about it. If not, definitely go check it out. It's a great action movie. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a spoiler talk about that, so if you want to check that out, you definitely can. Odds are I put the link in the beginning of this video, because odds are, you know, if you didn't like the video, you wouldn't get this far. But definitely check that out if you're interested. And like I said, please put in any comments you guys have down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.